If Jadon Sancho returns to Manchester United next season and isn't sold, I think in order to get the best out of him, whoever the manager is, has to at least try Jadon Sancho in this specific role which I'm going to talk about, as I think not only would it get the best out of Sancho himself, but also offer United's attack something that they currently lack. So what is Jadon Sancho's tactical role? Well, first I'll tell you what the role isn't. Jadon Sancho isn't a natural winger, someone who you want holding a high and wide position, as I just don't think he has the pace and the direct dribbling ability that you would want from someone in these sorts of positions, not being a Matoma or a Doku who can isolate the fullback in a 1v1 before being able to consistently beat them down the outside or driving through on the inside. I don't think he's a central attacking midfielder in a 4-2-3-1, as he just doesn't have the tenacity, work ethic or athleticism from a defensive point of view, whereas instead you can play someone like Bruno Fernandes there and not have to worry about his intensity in the press or his work rate throughout a match. My view is that Sancho has to play between the lines, but not statically. He needs to be given a degree of freedom in possession to drift into pockets of space, from where he can then look to receive the ball turn, drive forward and then look to play those intricate through balls in behind. Now he could certainly start from a wide position either on the left or the right, but rather than sitting on the outside of the fullback, you want him joining Bruno Fernandes in the half spaces between the lines. However, the issue is you would then need a fullback behind Sancho to push up in order to sustain the width in the system. And even though I do think that Dalot could do this, I think he has to be used in the rest defence, either inverting infield into a double pivot in midfield or holding a wide position in the back three, from where he can utilise his ball carrying and progressive passing ability from those deeper positions. Yes, Dalot would still be pushing forward and providing runs from deep in the final third, but in the middle third I want Dalot central, not high and wide on the right. But before I get into that, if you like me prefer the retro jerseys to the new season ones, go over to Jersey FIFA. You can check out all their Manchester United retro jerseys through the 1990s and 2000s, as well as from other club and international sites as well. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. Now Luke Shaw could certainly do this, pushing forward and just sitting in this high position for the balance of the whole team, but if Shaw isn't fit and either Malacia or even Martinez or Dalot are playing at left back, then you don't really have a fullback who is well suited to doing this. Once you also factor in Garnacho and Rashford, playing Sancho from the left just doesn't seem viable, and even from the right, you would then be forced to take Dalot out of areas where I think he contributes the most. And so my solution is to actually try Sancho as a false 9, and even though it may sound bizarre, I think the reason why we haven't really seen Jadon Sancho and even João Felix hit the potential that they do have is because they are being misused positionally. I think United lack a player in the front 5 who can link play incredibly efficiently in congested zones and can knit things together pretty neatly, whilst also being able to drive into space when the space is there, and Sancho thrives at doing both of these things, as does João Felix. Højlund of course is going to be United's starting centre forward pretty much for the rest of the decade, you would hope, but United do need an alternative option, someone who is stylistically different and can play a more withdrawn centre forward role. Xerxes at Bologna does this excellently for Thiago Motta, dropping incredibly deep at times, and being side of the game will know what relationism is. If not, let me know and I'll do a video on it, but in short it just gives players more positional freedom in possession, and I think Sancho would thrive in this sort of Xerxes false 9 role, dropping off and almost becoming an extra midfielder at times to allow United to create overloads, and I think the likes of Garnacho, Rashford and even Greenwood if he returned as well would be considerably more dangerous with this kind of false 9 forward, because Sancho's deeper movement would drag a centre back out of the back line, vacating that space for the two wide attackers to make runs into, just as Roberto Firmino would do for Mane and Salah. See, with the increase in tactical sophistication at the top level of the game, some players just don't look as good because they don't suit these very positionally rigid roles. Players like Eden Hazard, Ozil, Guti, etc. I think would probably all have some similar issues if they were coming through now as well. And I think Jadon Sancho and João Felix are two players that fall into this category. I think they suited football in the mid-2000s a lot more than they currently do, but that doesn't mean they are completely redundant. However, it's Sancho's defensive work rate which really concerns me. Roberto Firmino was arguably the best pressing forward in the world at one point, and this was massively underrated in my opinion. And so the fact that Jadon Sancho not only doesn't have this same sort of pressing ability, but is also a liability at times out of possession is definitely something that concerns me. and why I don't really like the idea of using him in a wide position where he has a lot more defensive responsibility, first in the press, but mainly in the middle third when he has to get back and tuck in alongside the central midfielders. But as a false 9 with a midfield 3 behind him and 2 wide attackers either side, his defensive responsibilities would be significantly reduced in the middle third. Honestly, this is probably the only role where I can see Sancho succeeding in at United, as even for Dortmund, whilst his form has certainly improved, I still find myself wanting more whenever I watch him play. And I think a positional change could benefit his style of play significantly, as he needs to be receiving the ball centrally between the lines, and the more times he's able to do this in a match, the more effective he can be, and I think this would significantly improve his overall output and performance. So let me know where you would play Jadon Sancho if he was to stay at United next season, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications, as I have got a video coming soon on Xerxes at United in that false 9 role.